धीमहि यो यो नमः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नमः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। शारदा राम कृष्ण नाम बोलो एक बार। शारदा राम कृष्ण नाम बोलो एक बार। हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। सुखमा का हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। सुखमा का हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। अंतकाल हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। अंतकाल हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। तारक ब्रह्म हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। तारक ब्रह्म हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। नियतो रे श्री शारदा राम कृष्ण धाम। नियतो रे श्री शारदा राम कृष्ण धाम। होए जब पूर्ण काम फूल के अपार। होए जब पूर्ण काम फूल के अपार। हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। शारदा राम कृष्ण नाम बोलो एक बार। शारदा राम कृष्ण नाम बोलो एक बार। हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। सुखमा का हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। सुखमा का हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। अंतकाल हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। अंतकाल हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। तारक ब्रह्म हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। तारक ब्रह्म हरि ओम राम कृष्ण नाम। नियतो रे श्री शारदा राम कृष्ण धाम। नियतो रे श्री शारदा राम कृष्ण धाम। होए जब भी पूर्ण काम फूल के अपार। होए जब भी पूर्ण काम फूल के अपार। हरि ओम राम कृष्ण बोलो मन मार। 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 ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय। विघ्न विनायका देव देवा परम ज्योति विनायका।
विघ्न विनायका देव देवा परम ज्योति विनायका।
विनायका जय विनायका नमस्तुते विनायका
विनायका जय विनायका नमस्तुते विनायका
विनायका जय विनायका गजमुख देवा विनायका
विनायका जय विनायका गजमुख देवा विनायका
विघ्न विनायका देव देवा परम ज्योति विनायका
विघ्न विनायका देव देवा परम ज्योति विनायका ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय। जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा हर 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 महादेवा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा हर 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 महादेवा जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा हर 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 सदा शिवा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा हर 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 सदा शिवा जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा एंगल ज्योति रामकृष्ण ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा एंगल ज्योति रामकृष्ण जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा हर 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 महादेवा ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा हर 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 महादेवा जय शिव ओंकारा जय जय भज शिव ओंकारा जय शिव ओंकारा जय।
सीताराम राधे श्याम हर हर महादेवा।
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 हरि नाम राम नाम प्रभु नाम प्यारा नाम।
हरि नाम राम नाम प्रभु नाम प्यारा नाम।
जय जय राम घन श्याम।
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 सीताराम 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 जय सीताराम।
सीताराम 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 जय सीताराम।
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम।
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम।
जय जय राम घन श्याम।
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 सीताराम राधे श्याम हर हर महादेवा।
सीताराम राधे श्याम हर हर महादेवा।
हरि नाम राम नाम प्रभु नाम प्यारा नाम।
हरि नाम राम नाम प्रभु नाम प्यारा नाम।
जय जय राम घन श्याम।
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 सीताराम 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 जय सीताराम।
सीताराम 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 जय सीताराम।
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम।
रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम।
जय जय राम घन श्याम।
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 जय जय राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
ॐ ऐं सर्वदेवदेवी स्वरूपाय श्रीरामकृष्णाय नमः. Om Namo Narayanaya, Revered Mataji, dear sisters and brothers. This morning's reading is titled God is Seeing Me and was written by Swami Tyagananda of the Vedanta Society of Boston. There are many temples and sacred spots nestled in the snow-clad ranges of the Himalayas. 4 among these are collectively called Char Dham, 4 homes. These are Gangotri, the source of the river Ganga, Yamunotri, the source of the river Yamuna, Badri Narayan or Badrinath, temple dedicated to Sri Vishnu, and Kedarnath, temple dedicated to Lord Shiva. Tens of thousands of pilgrims visit these sites every year. Sometime in the 1950s, a Swami of the Ramakrishna order was on a pilgrimage to Kedarnath. On his way from Gaurikund to the temple, he saw an old woman trudging along with her hand on the shoulder of a young boy who was guiding her up the 16-kilometer long, steep, winding and narrow path. Many pilgrims, young and old, were on their way to the temple. The sight of an old woman going up the path shouldn't have been surprising, but this old woman was totally blind. The Swami was awed by her determination and devotion. He was also curious. He asked her respectfully, "What is it that draws you to the temple? You've taken this arduous journey, but at the end of it, you won't see Baba Kedarnath." She seemed a bit surprised at this question. Then she smiled, with folded hands raised to her head and eyes filled with tears and devotion. She said, "It's true that I won't see him, but surely Baba Kedarnath will see me when I am there." The Swami stood there stunned. What a revelation it was to him. He was on his way to have the darshan of Baba Kedarnath. It was obvious that Kedarnath ji too will see him. But he had never thought about it in that way. It came to him like a flash now. I shall see the Lord only when I reach the temple. But the Lord is seeing me right now, right here. The Swami knew immediately that this pilgrimage had borne fruit through this message from the Lord. I am always seeing you. This message remained with the Swami thereafter. It had been to him a constant source of inspiration, security and strength. This is what he told me some 20 years later, when I was a monastic novice in the 1970s. As devotees and spiritual seekers, we don't need to be told that God is seeing us always. It is obvious, and yet, how very often the obvious eludes our attention. We tend to forget that whether or not we see God, God is always seeing us. Whether or not we hear God's voice, God is always hearing ours. What are the benefits of remembering that God is seeing me? First and foremost, we will no longer feel lonely and depressed. Initially, when we try to draw the mind away from the distractions of the world, we find it to be an uphill task. It becomes a bit easier if we withdraw into solitude to think about God. Sometimes we experience loneliness or depression. Loneliness can be overcome by remembering that we are not alone. God is always with us. No one can ever be alone anywhere. God is our constant companion, even if He is not visible now. Just because the stars cannot be seen during the day, it doesn't mean that they are not there. I may not see God, but God is seeing me. Don't seek God, see Him, Swami Vivekananda said. God is not hiding anywhere that we must move heaven and earth to search Him out. God is here, right before us if we open our eyes and if we close our eyes. He is in the depths of our heart. We may wonder, why don't I see him then? The answer is that our vision is defective. The lens of the inner eye have become cloudy, dusty, and sticky due to desires and attachments of all sorts. This lens must be cleaned. All spiritual disciplines are, in fact, direct or indirect ways of cleaning the inner lens. Through spiritual practices, the impurities are removed and our vision becomes clear. In the Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna calls it the divine eye, chapter 11, verse 8. Through divine eyes, we can see God. Meditation means seeing God, not merely thinking about Him. We may think about a friend who is away or who is no more. But when our friend is here sitting right in front of us, we don't think about her. We see her. We talk to her. We hear her, don't we? That is what we must do in meditation. When we can do that, then we are really meditating. Deep and ceaseless thinking about God is what gets gradually transformed into meditation on God. Remembering that God is ever present and God is seeing me helps in improving the quality of meditation. Yet another benefit is always remembering that God is seeing me is the strength it gives us. A child may be afraid when it is alone, but it fears no one when its father or mother is around. The child feels strong in the strength of his parents. Just so, when we remember that God is always around, we feel empowered. Swami Ramakrishna, an eminent disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, said, "Actually, very few of us believe in God all the time. How do we know this? Because we allow anxieties and fears to arise in our minds. If we really have faith in God and in His infinite power of goodness, we can never feel fearful about anything." These words are invaluable and authentic because they come from one who stood like an adamantine rock of courage, fortitude, and faith in the face of difficulties throughout his life. The strength that we derive from remembering God is seeing me helps us not only to overcome difficulties, but also to forge ahead fearlessly with whatever task we are engaged in. It is said that when Swami Vivekananda and his brother disciples began the mammoth task of establishing the Ramakrishna Mutt and mission, they hardly had any funds. But Swamiji knew very well that God will help them. He said to one of the disciples, "Do not worry about the money. It will fall from the heavens." So it was that with God, there was nothing that Swamiji and the young monks could not achieve. When we feel really secure in God, we find that every other form of security is insignificant. When remembering God is seeing me becomes habitual with us, we discover that God provides us the supreme security. It is God who really does everything. We are merely His instruments. The awareness God is seeing me is also a shield that protects us. No elephant becomes unruly when the mahout is sitting atop with the gourd in hand. When the god mahout is nearby, the mind elephant does not go berserk. Spiritual life is a disciplined life. One of the easiest ways of disciplining one's life is to always remember God is seeing me. Swami Akhandananda, another great disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, once described how early rising became a rule with him. He usually was up early, but on one occasion he heard the bell ringing during the morning aarti when he was still in bed. He hurriedly rose with the thought, "Shame on me, the Lord is up and I am asleep." Never again did he miss the aarti. Every act of ours acquires sanctity and a new meaning when we remember God is seeing me. Eating, for instance, ceases to be a physical act and becomes worship. If God is seeing me, can I eat anything without offering it first to Him? We mentally offer to God every morsel and then eat it as His prasad. Sri Sarada Devi says that prasad purifies our minds. First offer to God, then eat the prasad. We keep both our home and hearth clean, tidy for God. God is seeing me prevents us from thinking, speaking, and doing what we should not, and it encourages us to regulate our lives the way we must. As our understanding grows, we learn that God is not like a policeman waiting to catch a criminal red-handed, but He is our Father, Mother, and friend, all in one. We realize that, far from wanting to punish us, God is eager to reward us. God wants us to succeed and is ready to help and cheer our efforts. Thus, God is seeing me sends entirely different signals to a spiritual seeker, urging him or her to go forward. The practice of remembering God is seeing me frees us from the spells of loneliness and depression, helps us focus our mind on God, drives away anxiety and fear, fills us with strength to forge ahead towards the ideal, protects us from the slips and stumbles in spiritual life, and divinizes our lives. What is remarkable about the practice of remembering God is seeing me is that it is entirely within our reach. With the faith of a child and with persistent effort, anyone can discover the enormous benefits of this practice. These benefits become infinitely more potent when the faith that God is seeing me blossoms into the actual lived experience of seeing God. This blossoming occurs by the grace of God. It can take any length of time depending upon the purity of our life and the intensity of our effort. Thus, the period could be in terms of many lives or years or months or even days, maybe even few hours. Our job is to do our best and leave the rest in God's hands. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Ramakrishna sharanam, Ramakrishna sharanam, Ramakrishna sharanam, sharanye. Ramakrishna sharanam, Ramakrishna sharanam, Ramakrishna sharanam, sharanye. Prabhu kripa hi kevalam, kripa hi kevalam, kripa hi kevalam, sharanye. Prabhu kripa hi kevalam, kripa hi kevalam, kripa hi kevalam, sharanye. Namah Shri Gurave, Namah Shri Gurave, Namah Shri Gurave, Namo Namah. Namah Shri Gurave, Namah Shri Gurave, Namah Shri Gurave, Namo Namah. Namo Narayana, Namo Narayana, Namo Narayana, Sharanye. Namo Narayana, Namo Narayana, Namo Narayana, Sharanye. Tava sharanagatoham, sharanagatoham. भगवान की जय।
भोरा रे शिवजी मारे मंदिरिए आज पधारो ना।
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 और भोला शिवजी और भोला शंभो आज पधारो ना।
ओल बोला शिवजी ओल बोला शंभो आज पधारो ना।
भोला रे शिवजी मारे मंदिरिए आज पधारो ना।
भोरा रे शिवजी मारे मंदिरिए आज पधारो ना।
ओम हरा ओम पकड़िले जो हाथ मारो एक तुम्हारो साथ। बोलाय रे शिवजी मारे मंदिरिये आज पधारो ना
बोलाय रे शिवजी मारे मंदिरे आजा पधारो ना
ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
Om Namo Narayanaya, dear sisters and brothers. It is wonderful to know that God is always seeing us. The only way we can learn to see God is through prayer and meditation. Shri Sarada Devi says, even in the midst of your busiest hours, you should at least salute the Lord. This means that we must make a habit of saying our prayers regularly. Sharadama adds, one who makes a habit of prayer will easily overcome all difficulties and remain calm and unruffled in the midst of the trials of life. God is seeing us. Now we have to learn to see Him. Then we will be peaceful and happy. May God bless us so that we can always remember Him. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ॐ तत्सत् जय श्री गुरु महाराज की जय महामाई की जय स्वामी जी महाराज की जय गंगा मात की जय महावीर स्वामी जी की जय सर्व ऋषि मुनियों की जय पार्वती पतये हर